Welcome to the channel. I'm Kay, and today's swatch sesh features no other color than the color green. So these are basically my recommendations or picks for this upcoming spring season. And actually, some of you on here may have been here long enough to remember that last year in March, I also put out a spring green nail polish video. But don't worry, today I come to you with an entirely whole new fresh set of green nail polishes to check out. So let's get right into the swatch sesh and see the 7 green nail polishes that I picked out for the spring season. Peridot, a collaboration between Dani Viana, Vanessa Molina, and Watcha Indie Polish. This polish is part of the Zodiac series that the 3 brands collaborated on, and starting from the ground up, we have a neon green jelly base, heavily sprinkled with some really fun elements. We have green metallic flakes, iridescent flakes that shift from blues to purples, and also some very small holographic flakes running throughout. Basically, the base is pretty packed, right? But it's still a glider. It applies pretty well and it doesn't feel chunky at all. There's also a really nice release of those elements with each and every brushstroke, which led me to feel pretty satisfied with how this looked with 2 coats, since the visible nail line is pretty nicely camouflaged behind those attention-grabbing flakies. But of course, full coverage can be easily achieved by going in with likely just one more coat. Willow by ILMP. Willow is part of ILMP's Wildflowers collection, and the brand describes it as having a lively lime green base with a matching lime green shimmer. Notice that sheerness level though, it is quite up there, so keep in mind that you will have to move on to additional coats. For example, I decided 2 was good enough for this swatch. Now, let me change focus real quick to the size of those shimmers, which I have to say it's so nice. It really brings them to the forefront in a really flattering way, in my opinion. And I think it might even remind you of a metallic finish. Now, head on, this polish has a brighter lime green pop of color that leans a little bit more yellow in the center of the nail. And then the sides of the nails, the sides of the nails will have a bit of a darker version of that lime green color. So to me, I see this one as an energizing spring pick. Serenity by Cirque Colors. Switching things up a bit after being energized by Willow, here comes Serenity, and what we have here is a sheer white pearlescent nail polish. So we're starting off very gently here, but Cirque added a really lovely green sheen that unfortunately my camera is not truly picking up in the way it looks in person. The sheen is kind of like more sheeny, if that makes any sense. Here, it's blending in a little too well in this footage. The sheen effect is definitely a lot more evident in person. Aside from that, there's also what I like to call a halo kiss, which is just like a light scattering of tiny holographic glitters just scattered throughout that base. Now, I'm moving on to a 3rd coat here, and you'll notice the struggle that I'm about to have with this 3rd and final coat, where I'm continuing to work the formula because these pearlescent finishes can sometimes be a bit, unfriendly or maybe a bit unwilling to disguise those brush strokes. So just keep that in mind during application. Overall, the end result is very soft, very gentle. I think this is more reflective of the beginning of springtime when the colors start to come back to life in nature. Nature kind of starts waking back up. So I think Serenity captures that really nicely. Ipe Verde by Watcha Indie Polish. But what would this video be without some sazon? Ibe Verde is coming through to add some flavor to these March picks of mine. So let's season up this nail plate with this clear base that is nicely fed with red shimmer and neon green circle shaped glitters in a few different sizes. We have some bigger particles, but also some smaller ones in there as well. Now the dispersion of this seasoning is so good. I didn't really have to do any placement. Those glitters really do choose good spots across the nail and they scatter out really nicely. Also, I must say that I was so tempted to replace this pick with Stagnant Water by Death Valley Nails. But you know, I feel like I've been giving Death Valley Nails a lot of attention lately, so we're gonna give this one to Watcha. Absinthe Minded by Sassy Sauce. Absinthe Minded is a thermal polish, but it is starting off in the cold state, which is the green color you're seeing now. It's kind of a darker tone of green. Now, notice that it is not fully opaque in one coat. It's not a one coater. You can see that there's a level of sheerness in the base that we will fix with a second coat. Now, you may or may not need additional coats depending on your nail length, but I did stop at 2. Throughout that base, we have an intense red coppery shimmer that is pretty evident in both the cold and warm state, and will definitely trigger the color change in this polish in a bit here by dipping into cold and hot water. But as a heads up, when cold, this polish turns into a bright yellow color. So here I have my hot water in the right and the cold water to my left, and you can immediately see the change here to a color that matches so well with that darker shade of green. As I was saying, the shimmer is surprisingly still so evident and visible against that yellow canvas. And by the way, if you're liking these polishes and you want my cat to sing for you in the outro, make sure to like and subscribe. Now I find this polish to hold its thermal power pretty well. I have had it for almost a year, I think, and it's still transitioning really nicely. Hardcore Buttercup by Mooncat. Hardcore Buttercup is part of Mooncat's collaboration with the Powerpuff Girls, and although it looks like there's a lot going on here, we really just need to talk about a few things. So starting from the ground up, we have a green jelly base filled with iridescent flakies that shift from greens to purples to teals, and Mooncat also added in 2 types of holographic glitters to that base. Now, because we're dealing with a jelly here, keep in mind that sheerness is to be expected. However, 2 coats was definitely a good stopping point for me. You can see that there's still a little bit of that visible nail line, but the depth of color and the sparkle coming from those flakies are still very present. They are still popping through with no issues. And also keep in mind that this is a limited edition polish. It is, however, somehow still available. It looks like Mooncat did a really good job at stocking these, so you can still find this one on the Mooncat website. Transparent by Sassy Sauce. Transparent is a part of a duo that was released during an HHC event, and this is kind of like our other neon option here because that base starts off in a neon slime green color, and we have a couple of elements like that red or coppery shimmer and iridescent flakies that shift from greens to blues, even to pinks and golds at some angles. Now notice that there is still some very slight visible nail line here, but I don't want to move on to a third coat because the polish would end up being too thick for me at this point. I do suspect that the base is just intentionally slightly sheer, so keep that in mind. Because this polish was released for that Hella Handmade Creations event, it is no longer available, but this can still serve as inspiration, or you may just find it in a D-stash. TLDL, these are my green spring picks for the upcoming season. And as I'm looking at the collage here, I'm reminded that there's definitely a lack of soft spring colors in my choices. You know, it's kind of like what I was saying earlier, those gentle tones that seem to reflect the start of spring a little bit better, like when nature starts to gently come back to life and gain back its colors. So I feel like that palette is not really here, but let me know your preference. Are you a soft spring color person, or are you a bright spring color person? I think that you probably know what I am based on the collage here, but I'm looking forward to seeing what the majority of you prefer. So let's continue the conversation in the comments. Also, if you want more green spring polish recommendations, I will link my other video in the description box or maybe in the comments. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'll see you next time and have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching so much. Thank you for watching my video. Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you.